What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, like I said in the last video, we're going to be working on an AEG. Just got this in recently. It's a G&G Batto combat machine, CM16, whatever you want to call it. This is basically like their most updated version of their combat machine, to my knowledge. And it's pretty sweet. It's got a really cool quick change spring system that you can access through the buffer tube with this tool that they give you. You just stick it in, turn it, and pull it out, which makes tech stuff really easy. You don't need to do anything but just take your stock off, basically, and do your thing. I've already kind of set this thing up externally because I thought recording that and showing you guys that process would be kind of boring and whatever. So I went ahead and changed out the pistol grip, the stock, added a red dot sight. We have a PTS hand stop. We have some BCM rail covers. We have a, I want to say this is, I can't remember if this is Watson brand. It's a Tech 15, fake Surefire, M600, scout light on a dual switch here. And then we have the EMG Guardian suppressor. Looks kind of like a Surefire, but it's not quick change or anything like, or quick detach or anything like that. But holds a tracer if I need it, and I think it looks pretty sweet. Supposedly the new gearbox that comes in these guys is really nice, so we'll be taking a deep dive into this guy today. And some parts that we're going to be installing, we have the Paragon brushless 33K motor. We have a Lonex anti-reversal latch. This is pretty redundant. I'm sure the G&G one in there is fine, but figured I have it, so why not throw it in. And then we have an FLT tappet plate spring. Super strong. I know G&G ones are pretty strong too, so I might not even need that. This is a pretty much complete FPS soft air compression set, tappet plate. This piston we may or may not use. This is from a Cyma Platinum. I don't know if the G&G one is metal tooth or not, but we'll find out. If it's not, then we'll be using this one. And then this is also an FPS soft air piston head. This setup is really nice, so you should get really consistent FPS out of this inside whatever you want to throw in it. But the FPS is also really consistent already in this gun, so we'll see if this is an upgrade or if it's kind of like a lateral shift in performance. But regardless, I have it, so might as well use it. I know that these new ones have steel bushings, very similar to VFC or Lonex bushings, which is really nice. They don't come with those stupid copper ones anymore. But I also wanted to test these out because these are fairly inexpensive, but these are the FPS soft air 8mm bushings, or not bushings, bearings. They look nice. I don't know if they're Japanese. I don't think that they are. But I wanted to try them out. I like the FPS soft air stuff, so maybe this stuff will be, maybe these will be really nice, and we'll find out. We're also going to be throwing in the Jeftron Leviathan MOSFET. This is the Paragon Armory version, if it'll focus. Come on. You can do it. There we go. Paragon Armory Leviathan. Also pulled this out of my one of my other guns. And I also have the Jeftron hair trigger for the Leviathan. So we'll see how that works out. Other than that, we have a ZCI 6.02 barrel, and I also put in Airsoft Mutations 70-degree bucking. I've never used that bucking before, but the mutation stuff is usually pretty good, so I wanted to give it a try. It seems to give pretty good FPS consistency with the stock gearbox. And again, I threw those in because I'm sure a million of you have seen videos on how to replace your bucking and barrel, so I wasn't going to waste the time. But yeah, let's get this guy open and we will check out what these gearboxes look like. Okay, getting that thing apart was pretty easy. Pretty standard stuff. The only difference is the buffer tube screwed into the receiver instead of like having a screw go into the spring guide. Like I said, for that quick change spring feature. But inside is pretty standard combat machine. You have a really basic switch assembly, no MOSFET or anything like that. One thing that I did notice, and you probably noticed if you saw it in the time lapse, but the wires actually don't sit inside the gearbox, which is kind of cool, I think. I don't really see how that would be bad, but it's different for sure. So I don't know what it would be like trying to fit other gearboxes into this gun, but these ever since like 2017, 18, whenever the CM16 2.0s came out, those have much more reinforced gearbox shells in the front here. So I really have never seen one of these break, and I've also DSG'd a lot of them. So really big springs like 160s, 170s, and I've never had one break doing that. So I have no problem thinking that these shells are just as durable. A little close up on those bushings that I was talking about. So they're not quite as flat in the shell as a VFC or Lonex type bushing, but we'll see what that looks like with those FPS soft air bearings. And then gears, these are pretty standard G&G heat treated gears. Really tough. I'm definitely, oh, ooh, these are different actually. Whoa, they have stuff on them. Over 10,000 cycles, steel quality assurance. Yeah, America. And like I said before, the G&G tappet springs are super strong, so I'll just use this one, keep the FLT upgraded one for a different gun if I ever need it. Compression set is very standard combat machine. It looks like they changed the material of their, or at least the color of their piston head. Doesn't have an O-ring nozzle, so it doesn't get the best seal, but just compression alone, it's pretty good. But I know that I've seen hundreds of G&G piston heads just explode randomly. Oh, and normal G&G things. The port for the piston is on the bottom. Fun fact, this actually keeps your gears, it's almost like air conditioning. It blows air into your gears so they stay cool. I'm kidding. That's not how that works. But every G&G I've ever opened always has the port facing down, which I think is kind of funny. It almost makes you think that you have a full cylinder if you look at it from either side. But nope, port's on the bottom for no reason, but whatever. But we're going to dump this whole compression set. I might keep the tappet plate, because it has a lot cut out in the front for the reinforcement of the gearbox, and I don't know if the FPS soft air one... Oh, no, this would probably work. But I kind of like the shape of the G&G fin better, so I might use the G&G one. So what the plan is for this gun is I'm not going to change the gears. I tested this whole the 18-1 gears with the Paragon motor, and it felt really good. So, and I kind of want this gun to be more like a balanced single sector gear gun. I was going to originally put 12-1 gears into it and just have stupid response and rear to fire, but I figured there's no point. The trigger response with the brushless motor on a lot of gear sets is pretty instantaneous, so I'm really not too worried about it. Plus with the Leviathan I can program active braking, and also I can program precocking, so I can get that trigger response real fast. But real quick, what I'm going to do now is just take apart everything. Take everything out of this gearbox and give it a nice clean wipe down. And I'll be right back. Real quick, one thing I noticed right off the bat with these G&G shells is, much like Crytek gearboxes, the spur gear doesn't indent for the bushing or bearing like the other ones do. If you see these, it actually sticks up. If I can get the camera to focus on that. Come on. You can kind of see it, but so we'll see how much room there is to shim the spur gear. From just looking at it, there's only one shim on each side of it from the factory, so if those soft air bearings stick up any further than the bushings did, then I might not have enough room to shim it, so we'll have to see. But when we get there, I'll let you know. Okay, so quick update. I did get those bearings in. They were a nice tight fit, but I decided to glue and epoxy them anyway. I know some people think that gluing your bearings and bushings is dumb, but I've been doing it for years and I've never had any adverse effects from it, so why not? Sometimes bearings and bushings are also loose in their holes, so or not, like, you know, they can fall out easy. So I like to glue them so that they don't have any chance of shaking around while the gun is shooting. That being said, these bearings are they're decent, I would say. With no lube whatsoever, just raw, with the gear in there, with the spur gear in there. It spins decently smooth. It's fast, or it's not, I wouldn't say it's fast, it's quiet. Really, really quiet. You can't even hear it spinning. But it doesn't spin for super long, like you'll see with some really expensive bearings. But this isn't a super high stress build, so I imagine these will probably hold up fine. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and shim these gears real quick, or real quick, depending on how long it takes me, whatever. I'm not gonna record and show you the process of that because that takes forever. If you guys want a really good shimming tutorial, check out Paragon Armory's YouTube channel. He has a fantastic tutorial on shimming. And if you get it wrong after watching his video, I don't know what to tell you. But I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, now that that's finally done with, I did a couple extra steps past shimming, but I got the gears all shimmed, nice and smooth. And I also got them pre-greased just to save that step later. This is what I've been using for grease for probably 4 or 5 years now. You get a giant tub of this stuff, super lube, and I still haven't run out of it, and it's kind of gross inside, but you know, it does the job. Works really, really well. So no complaints there. But we also put in our MOSFET. This guy was a pain in the ass. Did have to Dremel some of the gearbox shell away. Very similar to what older Crytek's used to have to do. I know on their new gearboxes you don't have to do that. But it's just annoying. It's 2025, and for some reason companies still think that you need to add reinforcements to places that don't take stress. So dumb. But yeah, so we got the MOSFET finally in. We're going to figure out how the routing of the wires works. I kind of forgot how it all went together, but I'm sure I'll figure it out once I put it back. From here, what we'll do is actually just throw in our gears. Or at least the top two. Next, we'll throw in our completed piston and cylinder assembly. The nice thing I like about these cylinder sets and cylinder heads is they're a real nice tight fit in any gearbox you kind of put them in. I've had zero issues with that at all. They go in, but they're nice and tight, so no moving around, no nothing like that. I also greased inside the cylinder, so that's all good to go. Now we'll reattach our tappet plate spring. Yeah, that thing is super strong. And then from here, we'll throw in our trigger. Now, the cool thing about the Jeftron trigger, if you get the hair trigger version, is it comes, I'll compare it to the stock one so you guys have an idea of what I'm talking about. But you'll see that the Jeftron one has this big 3D printed block epoxied on there so that it touches the switch way sooner. The one thing I really like about this way of doing it, instead of adding material to the back of your trigger, back here, is if you do that, it makes your trigger sit further back before it starts, which I hate. I like the trigger to be pretty much perpendicular with the gearbox, so that way when I pull it, it's sitting like this instead of back like this, if that makes sense. I'll kind of show you when I put it in, but you'll see that the trigger actually has a little forward angle to it actually, so it just feels more natural than having the trigger feel like turned way back here. I think that looks kind of dumb too. Yeah, I tested this already and we got positive engagement with our switch. Now we'll throw in our anti-reversal latch, just like that. And lastly, the bevel gear. Nice. Okay, last thing, what I want to do is actually grease the piston rails. I forgot to do that, so put a little. Ooh, that's way too much. Oops. And then some down here. That way our piston moves back and forth nice and smooth. We'll put our top shell on. And should be good to start screwing it together. Boom, boom, boom. Da-da-da. Oh, God. Oh. Okay, so this is pretty annoying, but at least it's like kind of a cool design, I guess. So the way that this works is this piece actually has a guard here on the inside so that the wires can't go into the hole where the motor would go. But if you have a signal wire there for a MOSFET, there's just so much going on. This doesn't even look perfect, but I'm pretty sure it'll work. Yeah, should be fine. Maybe I could rearrange this just a little bit. Okay. So now, shouldn't get cut up by the motor, or I mean the pistol grip when I put that back together. From here to, you bend the wires towards the gearbox like this, and then this piece goes on the other way, obviously, and then that kind of is a guide for your wires. And then for some reason it also uses a 1.3 millimeter Allen key, so if you're taking one of these guys apart, hopefully you have that bit, because I didn't in my iFixit kit because I lost it. But luckily I had a spare just Allen key set laying around that had it. Boom. The last thing we need to do before I forget to do it and think my gun doesn't work is get a sticker onto the selector plate so that it works. Be right back. Got a sticker on there, and now we put the selector plate back on. And I always think that I'm gonna break it. Okay, we're good. Nice. Okay, here's our trigger pull. Very short, not super short though, just so it doesn't like, you know, go off just by touching it or without just by breathing on it. I've had my triggers really short in the past, and I've always shot myself in the foot because I have bad habits of not keeping my gun on safe because I'm dumb. But this will do. I'm not looking for this gun to be crazy fast. This is going to be like my balanced field gun, maybe like a loner gun, or like maybe like a Milsim gun if I'm too tired of carrying on to heavy Tuck Murray recoil shock all the time. But let's put this thing back together and test it out. Okay, so everything works. I do have to calibrate the selector switch. Semi-auto doesn't work unless you go past it. And then I think I have to calibrate active brake too, because this thing is really fast, but other than that though, sounds awesome. I'm going to put the rest of the gun back together, and then I'm going to have to turn off the camera because it's also my phone, and then I have to reprogram it, and then we'll be right back. Okay, we're all back together. Let's go ahead and load this guy up with some BBs and test it on the chrono. Okay, got our magazine loaded up with some EMG 0.2 gram or 0.28 gram BBs. Let's do first couple shots of semi-auto. 278, 278, 280, 278, 281, 278, 278, 281, 281, 281, 280. Nice. Super consistent between 278 and 281 FPS. That's a 3 FPS deviation. That should be absolutely perfect for something like that should be absolutely perfect for accuracy and hop consistency. If I'm not mistaken, that's about 350 FPS with 0.2s. I don't know exactly the math. I can't remember off the top of my head. But with the quick change spring feature on this gun, I could get this thing up to 400 without any issue. One thing I will note is that this gun is short stroke 2 teeth. So if I wanted to really increase the FPS by about 30, I could just throw in a normal sector gear and it'd be fine. That'd probably put it around 380-ish with a 0.2, or 310 with a 0.28. You usually lose about 15 FPS per tooth-ish, give or take. But let's do a quick full auto burst and see what kind of rate of fire we're getting. 27.8. 27.8. Nice. And the FPS is still staying consistent on full auto, which is exactly what I was looking for with this gun. Alrighty, I hope you guys enjoyed my not so thorough build video of my new G&G Batto combat machine. If you want more in-detail AEG tech videos in the future, leave a comment down below. Please like and subscribe if you like the content I've been putting out recently. And as always, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll catch you on the next one.